Hello all. In this demo, we are going to see a use case where we install a post-provisioning script on the provision VM through CFT. So the use cases, we provision a simple VM through CFT, and we also install execute a script as soon as the VM gets provisioned and the post-provision operation. Okay, so we are going to configure this post-provisioning operation to execute some scripts, say Nginx or Apache. So we execute a sample script on the provision VM. Okay, so for that we need a sample EC2 CFT template. So if you go and type sample cloud formation template for ServiceNow, we'll give a sample JSON. So you can configure or customize the JSON however you need. So this is the sample JSON that is provided in the product docs. So you can always go and configure this. So if you go and see here the resources, these are the input parameters that we take when we submit the order. So to provision a VM. So for us to do post provisioning script, we need the instance name, but this is not configured here. So we'll be using a customized template where we also provide the instance name as info. Okay. So this is the template that we are going to use. Okay, this is the template. So in this template, so we are taking few attributes. So the instances is the resources is C2 instance. We are using the instance type, which will be coming from the user. So similarly, the instance name will be getting as input from the user and all those things. So, okay, so the reference for the instance name is the instance name field, and search for the instance name field here. So the name of the EC2 instance, which will be coming as an info from the user and the string format. Okay, so that will be referring to. So this is the template that we are going to use to provision a simple VM. So on the same VM, we are going to install a script. Okay, so before doing creating a CFT, so we have to find on which AWS account you are going to create a VM. So you have to configure a service account for that AWS account, and you also configure a cloud account on the region where you would like to create a VM. So I'm going to provision a VM on this service account on this US West 1 region. So I discovered all the resources needed. So the one main thing to do a post provision is we have to tell which key pair we are going to use. So the key pair that we are going to use should be available in the AWS console. Okay, the key pair should be available here. So the same key pair that we are on the same key pair. This is the key pair I'm going to use now. This is the same key pair I'm going to use to provision the VM as well as do some post provisioning operation. So you should have access to both the public and the private key of this key pair. So only then we'll be able to successfully run a post provision. So our main prerequisite is to have a key pair. So in handy. So this same key pair we are going to use for both provision as well as the post provision. So once you have all this cloud account set and configured, so we are going to design a cloud catalog item here. So we already took a CFT template. You can customize that CFT template based on your need. You can create a cloud catalog item here. So I'll say like AWS post provisioning demo. So I can select the template as cloud formation template. You can use any of the template type. I should save it. So once it is saved, you can create a cloud template here. So the cloud template is, you can just add the CFT template that you customized in the body. That's it. Submit. Once you submit, you can activate this template. So currently it is in draft state. You can always go and activate it. So once it is activated, you can publish this catalog item. So this catalog item will provision a VM on AWS. Okay. So all the inputs needed to provision a VM will be provided in the order form. Okay, when customer requests to provision a VM, only then that time on demand will be providing all the inputs to provision a VM. So it is still activating. I think, yeah, it's still activating. Once it gets activated, we can publish this catalog item. Okay. Let it get activated. So meanwhile, you should be sure on which keypad that you are going to use to provision the VM, the same keypad that you have to provide here. Okay, so here if you go to the discovery credentials, so you have to create so the keypad that you are going to use for the post. So whatever we are configuring now is for the post provision. For the post provision, we need to provide the key, which key which key the service now has to use to log into the VM. So that is what we have to configure. For that, we have to use SSH private key credentials. So we support user name and the private key combination. So you can give any name here. So I'm giving some name. So username is I'm creating a VM on AWS EC2. That this is the username. EC2 user is the username, and I need the private key for that. So I have all my private keys. So this is the public key and private key. This private key I posted, I added it, imported into AWS. So the same private key I'm using here. So, yeah, I will do that one. So pick this private key and add it in the SSH private key credentials table. So I now for the post provision, I got the username and private key. So only thing I need to resolve is the IP address. To log into any VM, we need an IP address, and username, and password. So all these things we have to add for the post provision. So we got the username and private key here. So only thing is IP address. Let's see how we resolve. So this SID is needed. So let's keep this tab open. So okay, maybe I'm going to configure the post provision operation now. So while creating, I'm going to add a new operation here. So here you will be using a step type called the Cloud API. So by default, we have an out-of-box provider called Node Access, which has a out-of-the-box method to execute an SSH script on the on any node. Okay. So the interface is Node Access interface. The provider is Node Access, and the interface name is Node Access interface. And the method that we are going to execute is the execute SSH script. You can also execute the PowerShell script, but for this demo, I'm using the execute SSH script because it is a Linux VM. So, and the version is 1.0. You can you'll know more when you go into the Cloud API model. So the version is defined there. Okay, that's it. You can save it. Once you save it, all the attributes needed to execute a script will be shown here. Okay. So here you need all these attributes to pass. So for any VM to log in, as we discussed earlier, we need the node address to be resolved and the node credentials to be resolved. And we can also say the sudo true. You can also customize this. For now, I'm adding it as true, sudo is true. And we need the script. What script are we going to execute? That we have to say. So first, let's resolve the node address here. Okay. So how do we resolve the node address? That is, we have an out-of-the-box script, so which will resolve the node address, which will give. So for some customers, public IP will be there, which will only the public IP will be available over the internet, so that we can use the public IP to log into the VM. But for few customers, they should use the private IP for safety purpose. So for them, the private IP will be available. You can use any one of this expression, either the public IP where you have the access to the internet. So you should use one of those IPs. So in my case, I have a private IP which is accessible over the internet. I'm picking it. So if you notice this expression, so this is the out of the box script that we have CMP VM next. So only the input needed for this is VM name. So we have to add a new attribute VM name in our post provision. That is the only thing that we are going to do. So just copy this expression and put it here. So this is to resolve the node address. So I have the node address in the private IP here. Okay, so only thing that we need is the VM name. Okay, that we see how we configure the VM name. And the other thing is node credentials. As we had seen, the node credentials is nothing but a username and password. We already configured the username and private key here in the SSH private key credential. Just copy this SSID. You can replace it in this expression. This is also an out of the box expression which will resolve the username and private key from this table. Okay, so here I'm going to just add the node credentials. So this is the node credentials. So now I resolve the node address and the node credentials. For the node address, the only thing that is needed is the VM name. So the VM name we have to add. Okay. So for that, I'm going to the resource blocks. So for every catalog item that we create, there will be a corresponding resource block. So the catalog item that we created now is yes, AWS post provisioning demo. Go to the resource block. There will be a new resource block named AWS post provisioning demo. Pick this up. So what we need is a VM name as an input for the post provisioning. So go to the operation post provisioning. Okay, we need the VM name as input. The VM name should be case sensitive. So let's copy it from the expression. This is the same name that we have to give. So just give the VM name and save it. It will be saved and we see the VM name and this is the parameter. So we are not getting it as input from the user. So just save it. Okay. So the same instance name will be sent to the post provision. So through this parameter name, that's it. So to send the input from the user to this VM name attribute, we have to go to this cloud catalog item that we just created and go to manage attributes and click on the provision. So this instance name is the VM name that user gives us input. So even the same thing we have to send to pick the private IP. So go to post provision. You will see the newly created attribute here. Just go here, change the mapping of it. Currently it is VM name. Since it is, we are not taking it as input, just copy the expression of the instance name here. So we got the instance name resolved here. So that's it. We got all the attributes needed to execute a script on the provision VM. Okay. But sometimes we face an issue. Actually, if you see at this catalog item, so when I deployed, I provisioned the VM, but it says connection refused. It happens inconsistently. So it happens when the VM, the script is not able to when the IP is not reachable, we get this issue actually. So we have to wait until we get the IP. So for that, to resolve that issue here, right, we can create a new operation, new post provision operation, which will wait until the instance is available for us so that we can log into the instance and do some operation. For that, we in the same CAPI provider, which is node access, we have another operation called block until ready. What does block until ready do? This block until ready waits until the VM is available. So once the VM is available and we can is ready to log in through SSH, this block until ready comes out so that we can do any operation on that, do some execute operations or execute some scripts on the provision VM. So this block until ready is mandatory. So you can see the version is 1.0. Even if you don't mention the default version is 1.0. So just here you have to see the order. Okay. So here. So now in the post provision, we'll be having two operations. Let me go to the catalog item. So in the post provision, we have two operations. So first we have to do block until ready. So change the order of it. Say 10. First block until ready has to execute, and then we have to execute a script. Once the instance is available to do SSH operations, only then we can do execute SSH script. So block until ready should execute first. So you change the order of this. So based on the order, it will execute. Actually, so first block until ready will execute, then execute script happens. So for block until ready to happen, we need the few attributes actually, node credential and node address. So the same mapping, whatever we gave, should be provided here. So it is node credential ID. So this is the node credential ID. And then we need the node address where I have private IP, which is reachable over the internet. Okay, so I give the private IP mapping. We configured the VM name already. So this VM name we configured for the post provision operation. The other attribute needed is OS type. You can just say Linux or Windows, based on which we wait for SSH or PowerShell. Okay. So for me, the OS type is Linux. That's it. We are done with our settings. So we created a catalog item. We created a post provision operation. So where we are waiting for the IP to be available to do SSH operation through this block until ready operation and execute SSH script, which runs a script on the provision VM. Just save this and can click on save. Now you can go and submit a catalog on this. So launch this. You can give a start name, say AWS demo 1, and select the user group here. And you have to select a proper network through from where the private IP will be reachable over the internet. For me, I'm using private IP and it should be reachable over the internet. So for me, I'm picking the proper network and submit here. So I'm selecting an availability zone. All this you can customize. For now, I'm typing it, and you can pick an instance name. You can give any instance name here. So this is the same, the VM name, then VM name will also be resolved to same. So based on the instance name, we'll be executing some script and we fetch the private IP. So this is the script we execute. Based on the VM name, we get the private IP. So we have some logic defined to fetch the private IP. So this instance name is mandatory, and that new attribute VM name is also mandatory. So when you submit, you see the VM gets provision. So I already submitted a stack. So I'll just show you how it executes. So it will create a stack and it will provision a VM. So pointed discovery on the provision VM, and it does the post provisioning block until ready and executes script. So if you see any errors, you can always debug your cloud trials. So the cloud API trials. Here you can go and see that block until ready operation, so which executed first. You can check whether the node address, the node credentials are resolved properly. So even for the execute SSH script, you can check whether all the attributes needed to execute an SSH script is resolved properly. Here I need the node address, the node credentials. So this will be resolved at the CAPI layer. So if the credential ID is proper, it will be resolved actually. So and then this is the script that we are going to execute. So all those you can always troubleshoot with the cloud API trial. So, and you will notice soon that the VM gets provision and Nginx is installed on the VM. So you can also go and look at the stack details to see the IP address here. Okay, so that's it. Thank you.